Jabek 200 pounds St. Bernard Nebraska du din tak kanapina chor kar navjat bak kupas bathan ka faislakia, to sabnaisi katra samja. Lekin sachai unki sakasi kahin zayata harankuan ti. A 200-pound St. Bernard hadn't moved in 2 days, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, just sat beside the newborn and watched. The parents called the doctor for the baby. The doctor looked at the baby and said he was fine. Then he looked at the dog and his face changed. The first thing Sarah noticed was the silence, not the baby's silence. Noah was sleeping, which was normal. The dog's silence. Samson had always been a presence in the house in the way that 200-pound dogs are presences. His breathing audible from 2 rooms away, his paws heavy on the hardwood, his tail capable of clearing a coffee table in one sweep. But since 3 a.m. on Tuesday, nothing. Sarah had woken to feed Noah and found Samson already there, already positioned, his massive body curled as tightly as 200 pounds of St. Bernard can curl, pressed against the side of the crib, his enormous head resting on the rail, his eyes open, watching Noah with an expression Sarah didn't have a word for, not protective, not alert, something quieter than both, something that looked almost like concentration. She had checked Noah, pink and warm and breathing perfectly. She had looked at Samson. "You're fine," she told him. "Go to your bed." Samson didn't move. She went back to sleep. By morning he still hadn't moved. "He didn't eat last night," Tom said, standing in the nursery doorway with 2 cups of coffee. Sarah looked at the full bowl in the corner. Samson hadn't touched it. "He'll eat when he's hungry. He's always hungry." Tom looked at the dog. In 4 years he has never skipped a meal. Samson's eyes moved briefly to Tom, then back to Noah. Tom set Sarah's coffee on the dresser and crouched down beside the dog. "Samson, come on, buddy. Breakfast." Samson didn't move. Tom looked up at Sarah. She looked back at him. Neither of them said what they were thinking. By midday the call started. Sarah's mother first, then Tom's brother with 3 articles about dogs and dominance behavior. Then their neighbor Patricia, who took one look through the nursery doorway and said, "I know a family who had a situation like this." It did not end well. Sarah closed the door on all of them. Tom found her in the kitchen an hour later, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea. "He still hasn't eaten." "I know." "Removed." "I know, Tom." Silence stretched between them. "What do you think he's doing?" Tom asked quietly. Sarah looked toward the nursery. Through the open door, she could see the edge of Samson's massive body, still present, that unreadable concentration. Then Samson lifted his head, pressed his nose to the crib rail, held it there for 3 long seconds, then lowered it again like a doctor checking a pulse, like someone counting something only he could hear. Tom had seen it too. Neither of them spoke. On the 4th night Tom made the call. He waited until Sarah was in the shower. He didn't want to fight. He just wanted it done. He sat at the kitchen table with his phone and dialed the number he had found that afternoon. Riverside Animal Shelter. Open intake. No appointment necessary. It rang twice. He had his reasons ready. Newborn in the house. Unpredictable behavior. Safety concern. It rang a 3rd time. From down the hallway came that low, steady sound. Tom looked up. At the end of the hallway, Samson had turned his head, not toward Noah, toward Tom. Those dark eyes in the dim light, no anger, no accusation, just a gaze so steady it felt like a hand pressed flat against his chest. The shelter line rang a 4th time, then went to voicemail. Tom ended the call, stood there for a long time, then went back to bed. The 2nd night was harder. Sarah sat in the rocking chair beside the crib and watched them both. Noah sleeping, Samson watching. She had grown up with dogs. Had Samson since he was 8 weeks old and small enough to carry in one arm, which felt impossible now looking at him. She knew his rhythms the way you know the rhythms of something you love without thinking about it. His excitement at the leash, his indignation at baths, the specific way he sighed when he was truly comfortable. She had never seen him like this. This wasn't comfort. This wasn't his version of relaxed. Every few hours he would lift his head and press his nose very gently against the crib rail close to where Noah slept, just for a moment, then lower it again like he was monitoring something she couldn't see or measure, something that only he had access to. At 2 a.m. Noah woke for his feeding. Sarah picked him up. Samson rose immediately, not aggressively, just upright, his eyes on the baby. Noah felt warm in Sarah's arms, maybe slightly warmer than usual. She told herself it was the blanket. She told herself it was the room. She fed him and put him back and watched Samson lower himself back into position with that same deliberate care. She put her hand on the dog's enormous head. He didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on Noah. Just the 2 of them in the dark in whatever language they shared that she wasn't part of. "What do you know?" she whispered. Samson's ear twitched. That was all. By the morning of the second day, Tom called Dr. Reeves, not because Noah seemed unwell, because Sarah had said the word warm, and Tom had not been able to unhear it. Dr. Reeves arrived at 11. She examined Noah on the changing table while Samson watched from the corner with those steady, unblinking eyes. Temperature, reflexes, color, feeding patterns. She checked everything twice. Then she looked at Samson. How long has he been doing this? 40 hours, Tom said. He hasn't eaten, hasn't slept that we can see, hasn't left that spot except when Sarah picks up the baby. Dr. Reeves looked at the dog for a long moment. Something shifted in her expression. She walked to Samson slowly, crouched beside him, pressed her hand flat against his side. She held it there, then looked up at Tom and Sarah with an expression neither of them could read. He's burning, she said quietly. His body temperature is significantly elevated. He's been running his metabolism at maximum for 40 hours. She stood up. Noah felt slightly warm to you last night, she said to Sarah. Maybe I wasn't sure. Dr. Reeves took Noah's temperature again. 38.1 borderline. Not alarming on its own, but she looked at Samson again. I want to run a blood panel, she said. Today. Tom frowned. You said he seems fine. He does seem fine. And I want to make sure. She paused. How old is Noah? 11 days. Something moved across Dr. Reeves's face. Today, she said again, I'm going to call ahead to the lab. The results came back 4 hours later. Sarah was in the nursery when her phone rang. Samson was in his position, still watching. She listened to Dr. Reeves's voice and looked at her son sleeping in his crib and felt the floor tilt very slightly under her feet. Elevated white cell count. Early markers caught very early. Neonatal sepsis, Dr. Reeves said, early stage. We caught it before he was symptomatic, which means the outcome is going to be very different than if we'd waited. Sarah pressed her hand flat against the wall. How did you know to look? She asked. You seemed fine. Dr. Reeves was quiet for a moment. The dog, she said. A dog that size, that age, doesn't stop eating for 40 hours without a reason. And when I felt how hot he was running, she paused. St. Bernards have been used as rescue dogs for centuries. In the Alps, they would find people buried in snow and lie on top of them, use their own body heat as intervention. It's not trained behavior. It's instinct. Sarah looked at Samson. He was looking at Noah. He knew Noah's temperature was wrong before any thermometer would have caught it. And he pushed his own body to maximum heat output and stayed pressed against him for 40 hours. He was keeping him warm while his immune system fought. She paused one last time. The moment Samson started doing this, that's the moment Noah's body needed it most. Sarah couldn't speak. She thought about every hour of the last 48. The full food bowl, the unblinking eyes, the nose pressed to the crib rail every few hours. Not checking, monitoring. She thought about her mother. Predatory, territorial. She thought about Patricia. It did not end well. She crouched down beside Samson, put both hands on his enormous face. He looked at her then. For the first time in 48 hours, his eyes moved from Noah to her. Those deep, patient eyes. That expression she hadn't had a word for. She had one now. Vigil. He had been keeping vigil. Thank you, she whispered. Samson held her gaze for a long moment. Then he turned back to Noah. Noah was treated immediately and responded within 24 hours. On the morning of the third day, for the first time in 48 hours, Samson stood up, walked to his bowl, ate everything in it, then walked to the center of the living room, turned 3 times, and lay down with a sigh so deep it seemed to come from somewhere older than any of them. His eyes closed. He slept for 14 hours. Sarah sat on the floor beside him while he slept, her hand on his enormous side, feeling it rise and fall. She didn't move either. Some vigil, she understood now. You keep for the ones who kept them for you. Noah grew up knowing this story. On the day he brought his own son home from the hospital, he carried the baby directly to where their Saint Bernard was waiting. He set his son down gently in front of the dog and said nothing because some things don't need explaining. Everyone told Sarah the dog was dangerous. Her mother, her neighbor, her brother-in-law, she ignored them all and trusted Samson instead. Was she right or did she just get lucky? Yes or no? Write it in the comments right now. If this story moved you, like this video and subscribe. It means everything to us. Thank you for being here with us today. See you in the next video. Have a beautiful day.